everyone. Today is Saturday, August the 31st of 2025, and I can't believe it. We're officially in the last day of August, and that means September is just coming around the corner, and you know what that means. Lots of stuff in the news. I'm going to go right to the questions because I think that we should have everything covered there. And if not, I will bring up some of the things that I'm looking at in the blab from this morning watching the news. Petra says, "Good morning, Sam. Which will run first in the month of September out of these coins? Ethereum, Doge, XRP, Solana, or Sui?" So I felt like Solana was going to be the darling this week, and it looks like that is what's happening. So the last one was Chainlink, and then it'll be, now I'm not saying that Chainlink isn't going to run, they're all going to run. But I think it'll be Solana, and as well, Doge should also run as well. But I think Solana will continue to run to its all-time high. Yay. So that's very exciting. I know it's a higher end coin. So, a lot of people are like, oh, I only get 10 for 2,000 or $2,120. But hey, you know what? The way I look at it is that when it goes to $4,000 and you got 10 of those, that's a really nice chunk of change there, isn't it? Like Green Eye says, "Hi, Sam. When do you see our beloved memes kicking off and which to run the hardest first?" Asking for a friend. Yeah, and we're supposed to do that on Saturday because this is what's trending. But I know cryptos are what's on everybody's mind. So I'm certainly going to answer that question, because one of the things that I saw about the big runs coming was that the meme coins would be the first ones to run. But it just came to me, I believe it was yesterday or the day before, that the meme coin run could be the, because when it's like this, oh, my screen froze for a second. When it's like this and it's going like that, again, you can't figure out necessarily which coins are going to be the winners in this run. Now this run is, now remember, up and then down and then back up. So that means that this run here, what is running could be different than, but it's still the market cap is still going up. And that's why you spread your bets, because you don't know which one from time to, but the meme coins, I think that it'll be, I think it'll be September that we'll start to see those running as well. Again, I just have a very, very small bags of meme coins. I would say probably it would be less than 5% of my portfolio, because you really got to have a quick trigger finger if you're going to do meme coins. Yeah. So I know a lot of the moon boys are, meme coin holders. I got 50% of my portfolio in meme coins. I mean, that's just crazy to me, but I'm not old enough to recover from dumb mistakes I might make with the crypto market. Well, I mean, maybe I am, but I just don't want to take that chance. All right. Nutcracker says, "Dear Sam, where do you see coins peak in September?" We have all of these questions about cryptocurrencies. Where's the news stuff, guys, for what's trending? Well, that's okay. You know what? The basic psychic nerds are absolutely loving this, I'm sure, because they're getting some up-to-date crypto news. So Nutcracker wants to know when I see coins peak in September. I don't know, Nutcracker. I don't think that there's going to be, I think that it's just going to keep going. I think like September will be here, and then by the end of September here. So, I mean, will it be like September 28th and then it'll start going through the downslide and up? Maybe, it's like I said, I mean, it's going to be like within days. I'm just having fun right now, like sort of predicting which ones are going to be the darling of the next upside. So when I'm saying that, Solana is going to be the darling of the upside of the market, I'm talking about it goes down and then it goes up. Because remember, before we called Solana, when it went down, and it was like $100, and then it ran, I don't know, to 170 or something like that. Spencer's better at tracking that stuff than I am, that's for sure. But I take a look around and I see which ones are going to go. Yeah, is it going to be one big wave or several waves? Thank you. It's going to be several waves, but Nutcracker, you've already seen, right? This way here. So you look at all the waves, right? All the waves. But I mean, there's no, it like basically goes down and then it turns around and goes up again. And then it just changes which coins. And that's been the way that it's been working out. Beatrix says, "How much inflation do we see for the USA and Canada for 2025, 2026, and 2027? Would asking in a percentage be a good way to ask? Yes, Beatrix, that is perfect. So America will not have the level of inflation that Canada will have. And the inflation America will have is going to be a healthy inflation because it's going to come from wages. So there's going to be double digit growth in wages. So, of course, inflation will be caused by that because once people make more money, then they start chasing more goods. They buy like a new car, they get a home, and interest rates are going down. And that's another thing that's going to make the crypto market go burr. Canada, it's going to be from money printing. So it's not going to be from wages. It's not going to be increased wages. They already lowered the interest rates like super low. So Canada is going to be the poor cousin of the United States. There's going to be a lot of economic refugees like trying to get into the United States, but they'll be on to you pretty early on. And if you can't prove that you have enough money to support you financially while you're in the United States, don't try to hold yourself out as a snowbird. If you got no pension yet, or, like people who are around my age, if you don't have, like with me, I carry with me my, the, the lease that I have with my tenants. So it shows that I have that income coming in every month, you know, and then of course other things that I prove, my assets and liabilities so that they know that I'm not going to be like trying to mooch off the system or steal a job from somebody in the United States. It's super important. Actually, I'm probably going to be hiring people in the United States. So I'm going to be an economic plus. And there's a lot of people who are coming to the United States who will decide to stay here. And it's because they're going to be moving their companies to the US. And that's what I'm looking at doing as well, moving my company to the United States. I qualify. I have over 60% of my subscribers are American, and that qualifies me for a visa here. But again, try before you buy. Just like if you wanted to go to Canada, you as an American, you would automatically, they would just give you 6 months. I mean, just make sure that you have health insurance. I have health insurance. I picked that up. It was like, oh my God, it was like $1,857 for the three of us for just under 6 months. That's the max. You can't get it for more than that because again, it's like snowbird insurance, travel insurance. So the chances of you making any claim on that, since it's travel insurance, are pretty slim to none compared to like the regular kind of insurance. So yeah, I know nobody's going to be wanting to move to Canada. You want to be moving the other way, but if you did go to Canada for any extended period of time, you would just have to make sure that you have health insurance. Not that they make sure that the migrants arriving there have health insurance. What can I say? Okay, Butrex says again, how about some good mining silver and platinum stocks in addition to holding actual silver or platinum, as storage is also a concern? Will we also do well with paper assets, or does it show physical is better, or some on both? Well, Beatrix, I know that that not everybody can have the physical or have everything in the physical. A lot of people have like self-directed RRSPs, registered retirement savings plans in Canada, as they're called. We do the letters up there. You guys do the numbers. Like I think your education fund down here is like a 506, and up in Canada it's called RESPs, or registered education savings plans. Yeah. So about mining stocks and things like that, I don't do that because I'm not really I'm not into that end of the financial things. I just use the Dow as a sort of litmus test of where we are, as I predicted that the Dow would charge past 50,000. Depending on how soon we get there, we could even see a 60,000 Dow before it goes around. And the crash that I saw coming, it was there's two, and one is related to Camp A Flagré and the extinction event that's going to happen in Italy, with all of the volcanoes and everything. And you can see that the Ring of Fire is waking up. I mean, that's very obvious now. Wayne made a good point. He said, with all of the stuff going on, it's hard to believe that Camp A Flagré would wait until 2 summers from now. But I was like, you know what? In volcano years, that's not long at all when you think about it. Okay. So yeah, major money printing going on in Canada, problems, and America is moving at lightning speed to, get the cartels out, go after Venezuela. They also need to start making their own medications because right now China could really kill off a major number of Americans just by not providing the medications that they need. So, again, Trump is busy he is fighting on all fronts. Boy, talk about a mess being left for him. I hope people outside of our group, I know you guys realize, but again, just going back to the whole thing with the silver miners and the gold miners, I don't really get into that because it doesn't have anything to do with the Great Awakening. I'm into cryptocurrencies because blockchain is a part of the Great Awakening. And another thing too is that it gives me really great practice. Like I get immediate results on my knowings and being able to figure stuff out, because the biggest enemy I have is my mind getting involved. Assumptions, my mind, my hopefulness, like it's hard for me to wrap my head around the volcanic explosion coming to Europe. Like it's hard for me to wrap my head around that. And I would love to tell people, nah, false alarm, but knowing what I know, but preparation is the key, right? It's always good to have a backup plan. So I'm not saying that people should necessarily, flee Europe based on some medium telling them that, Europe is going to be in peril, but there's nothing wrong with taking some of your crypto profits and like not buying property in Europe for now and buying it somewhere else, because that may be the thing that saves you. And some people have already gotten their residency in Mexico back when they had a special program, and it really cost nothing, to get your residency in Mexico. And it becomes permanent residency after 4 years. I don't even think I have to apply. I'll double check with Susanna. But for those of you who took advantage of the same program that I was in, because I referred people to Susanna, because she did a great job for me and actually got my daughter a residency within just 2 weeks of the program being canceled. But, talk about, my knowings. I called up my daughter. I said, you need to move your bottom, because, they're not going to wait until the end of the year to cancel that program. It'll just be like that and it'll be gone. And then you'll be paying big money to get your residency, and you'll have to prove that you have X number of dollars a month, which she would have qualified for. But the thing is that you don't know until they rubber stamp you, and you got to provide your banking records. And she wouldn't have, I don't think, as far back as what they were looking for. Yeah, I think it was per person, it was like $4,400 US a month. I know. And for those of you who got in, you didn't have to provide nada, nothing. I know, because I got in on that program as well, right? The last thing I want is my assets out there for everybody to see. That's not cool. Lift says, hi, Sam, would you borrow money if it doesn't cost a lot and use it for this run to buy cryptos? Would I? Well, what I would say, what a lot of people have done, Luf, is that they have not paid debt off. So instead of like taking that 20,000 to go and pay off debt that they were already approved for, and they could afford the monthly payment, then they put it into cryptos instead. So that would be a very similar thing. And I don't have a problem with that. Just the problem is, I remember this guy who he followed, the now passed away, claimed to be psychic medium, Michelle White Dove. That's from the feedback I got from people and the readings that she had with them, that lady, like just like Sylvia Brown, evil. But I digress. But I'll never forget that he blamed me because he thought I was her, and he was saying that Theta was going to be $1,000, and so he went and got a $20,000 loan from the bank, and then Theta fell before it went up. And I know, because I got Theta at 10 cents, because I bought some at 15 cents and then it fell, and then I bought it. And anyways, he panicked, and of course he sold his Theta before the big run happened, right? And he ended up, I don't know, his loan was for like $20,000 US, and he couldn't afford the monthly payments. And and it was in YouTube, right? And I just told him, I said, first of all, I'm not her. The top end you're going to get for Theta is $10. But as far as I'm concerned, good on you. greedy got you caught. You were greedy. You were greedy. You took money, you took a loan out that you couldn't afford. And when it didn't happen fast enough for you, and then of course you want to blame someone else, right? I don't care about people like that. I really don't. So, but that's nobody here. You guys are all, you would all do things very intelligently. You wouldn't go in and take out a loan for $100,000 and expect, if it's not, 500,000 in 3 months, be all angry and stuff. I just don't run with people that dumb. I refuse to surround myself with people like that. That's my number one. We're going to start making, you know what? We got to get to work on those t-shirts. Greedy get you caught. But yeah, I guess, 20, I don't know. Are you looking at 20,000, Liv? That's what I'm thinking, 20,000. And I think that you can afford that easily as well. The monthly payment on that. The problem this guy got into is that he couldn't afford the monthly payment. It was probably a high interest loan and he couldn't afford it. So as far as I'm concerned, what happened to him, he deserved it. What does he think? The world runs for him? Oh, exactly that amount. So Luf is looking at $20,000, exactly that amount. So that is a confirmation to me, Luf, that the people on the other side are okay with that, because you are definitely not being greedy when you do that, and you can easily afford that, and you're not going to panic yet. Exactly. You can afford that and you're not going to panic. And I had other people who asked me about that as well. And I'm like, look, you can afford that monthly payment. Do not pay off that car. You only have like this much money in cryptos, and I know it's going up, up, up. So, just take the 5 years for that car payment and make that monthly payment. But crypto's 5 years from now. And look, was I wrong? Was I wrong? No, I was not. Right. We were at like 800 billion, something like that. I'm trying to remember when I started. It was longer than that. It was like back in January of 2019. I started my Patreon the end of January, middle January. It was like, we were like maybe 160 billion. We were around that area. And look at where we are now. We're like 4 trillion. So was it a good idea to keep doing that monthly payment and instead put that money into cryptos? Absolutely. Even if you bought like Stellar Lumens, look at that. Oh, what is it now? It was 4 cents, right? Cardano, we backed up the truck of Cardano at 4 cents too. Look at what it is now. Exactly. I know a lot of people bought it at $1 and they were very disappointed because they were hoping to ride it to 300, but that's later. That's later on. But again, nobody's had to cash it in to pay bills, because that's not what cryptos is about. But I do think that's cool, Luf, that because I kept getting 20,000. I'm like, I think I'm going to say it. And then that'll confirm that you're doing the right thing. And for those of you who haven't watched Rudy's Psychic Meetup, take a look, because I talked a little bit about feedback I got from Bravo that was a blab from a couple of years ago that proves that this September is going to be it. Yeah, it was really unrelated to anything to do with cryptos. It had to do with the neighbor approaching him, and as I predicted it is coming true. And I did say the neighbor would come back and offer to sell the land instead of the entire house. And but then I made a side comment like, but cryptos will have run by then. Yeah, which means he'll be busy. He's not going to have time to be doing any cottage stuff. That's right. Because when you buy an apartment building and you're renovating it, that's right. Your wife can get her reno on. That's what she wants to do. Let her do it. It's perfect. You'd be like, we have there's 60 apartments. This will keep her together, right? This will keep her off me and busy right into retirement. Oh yeah. She's looking at wallpaper and painting and floor plans and just going apartment by apartment. And then it's as people move out, right? So this person moved out, and yeah. Anyways, I'm getting excited because I want to go in on that apartment building. I don't think he's going to let me though. That's right. Yeah, Wayne, XLM is 10 times, ADA 20 times. Yeah. I know, very exciting. And now people who got in on 2021, some of you are in our group, and I just told you, don't worry about it. Everything's going to be fine. You just have to wait a little bit longer than everyone else. That's all, but not too much longer, like 6 months or a year longer. Yeah. A lot of you are breaking even now because you got Solana at $20. Some of you got it at 40. It's still way up. If it's over $200, I mean, that's 5 times your money. If you put like $10,000 into Solana, it's worth 50 grand now. Yeah. And that's the key, right? Is that you don't put too much money into these like quote unquote flyers. Cal says, "Hi Sam, family and I are enjoying Universal Studios at Disney World. I have some cash available. I'm trying to wait for a pullback, but not sure if it'll happen. Please recommend which 2 to 3 cryptos to buy over the next few days for the best gains by the year end." Cal. All right. Well, I mean, that's not a crazy request. I don't think that there's too much you can go wrong with, honestly, between now and the end of the year. Um, I think that again, Solana's already started to run and it's up 15% on the week. So Doge is only up 2.7%. So that could be a good one. Cardano's still pretty cheap. I don't know if you got your nose out of joint about Cardano or not. Chainlink should have a really good run. And Sui is still under $4. Yeah. So lots of stuff going on there. So that's what I think. Those are some good ones on the top. I like the top. I like the ones that are in the top because those ones are easy. I like easy. Yes. All right. Yeah. William Penn points out that sci-fi is now reality. It sure is. Yeah. Oh, Pith was just chosen by the US government. And Hedera. Yep. I like Hedera as well. I put it down as a later riser. So that may be one that when you're taking profits from your Solana, for example, Hedera will probably still be just on the upswing. Yeah. Because I mean, I'm not going to completely get out of the market either. I'm just, I'm no dummy. I'm going to take profits. Nutcracker says, Dear Sam, just to clarify for myself, will HBAR run in September and is it better than XLM? Oh, I don't know about that, Nutcracker. Stellar is really moving things with the real world assets. And HBAR, of course, is going to run with the rest of the market. Right. And they're all, like I said, they're taking turns. And I think HBAR is going to be more like around December as far as being the darling of the month. Like right now, it's Solana's the darling. But you're going to see Cardano too. That's going to, yeah. You know what? I would just spread my bets. Yeah. When you think about it, cryptocurrencies, it was one of the most difficult things that you could ever test yourself with. The other stuff is easy. When you're talking to living ethereal beings who have just passed over to the other side. So they're just in a realm that, a normal person can't see them. But we've known for a very long time that there's a group of people alive on the planet on a regular who can see and speak to spirits. It's just that unfortunately, because there's so many people who are grifters in the space, that it's really sullied the name of it. Like I said, it's frustrating, when you're kind of compared to car salesmen. If you became a used car salesman, even if you were honest and hardworking and got the best deal for your clients, people would still attach you to a used car salesman. And unfortunately, I do work in a business where 95% of the people are con artists and grifters, and they don't have any abilities at all. A lot of them are mentalists. But the things that I do with you guys, you couldn't possibly do with the mentalist. And in order for me to hone my skills, I've used cryptos to do that because that is the best way to do it. I get like I get sort of the immediate results, and you see the nuances involved in it as well. So that's all part of the everything all at once. And we've seen gold running. Silver's over $40. So that's another thing too that we see working out in our favor is that, gold, silver, cryptos. And that just means like the voodoo economics of it. And why is gold and silver running as well as cryptos? Well, because of the money printing going on by the governments all over the world. America is doing really great, bringing in all the assets into the country. A lot of businesses are moving to the United States. But here you see, in other countries, like for example, Canada is losing money hand over fist. Well, how are they paying all this money? Oh, we're going to support the manufacturing. Oh, we're going to. Well, how are they supporting them? How are they giving like $1 billion to this industry and a few hundred million to that? Well, they're printing the money because they haven't worked on a surplus in a very long time. And that's going to cause inflation. And that's one of the reasons why a lot of people are like, oh, the housing market's going to go bust. And it's like, well, no, not really. What's going to happen is the money's just going to be worth less. And you'll just have to see how all that shakes out. But again, with America doing so well, the other two countries neighboring it, once the Mexicans get rid of the cartel, and they're starting to kiss the ring already because they're not stupid. Like they know how things go, and they actually managed to get in front of Canada. So, listen, I can't blame them. If they can get favor with the United States over Canada because they're both CUSMA. And, if they can get a better deal from the United States, because, and they have a population of 140 million people compared to Canada that has only 40 million, and depends a lot on the United States for a lot of the social programs by tariffing a lot of American products. But they don't like it when you tariff their stuff. No, they don't like that. So what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Things are going to shake out. It's going to be bedlam and uproar in many countries for many years. But the one that we can see for sure right now that's moving in the right direction is the United States, and it's taking cryptos with it. And I laugh, I smile. I saw that Solana was not hit so hard. Like Solana still managed to stay, as far as I could see, above $200. And, that says something. And it goes back to the original comment about the story of cryptos. And, you got to spread your bets. It's like a horse race. They're all moving at different points. And you don't know from one run to the other, like when it goes like this. And even though, yes, there's an upswing, but it's not your usual suspects. Like you're going to see, Ethereum ran, and then it was Chainlink. And now you see like Matic is up. What is it, like 13% or something? So there's stuff going on there. Someone asked me about Matic, and I was like, yeah, like it's an original QLab, just like Cardano is. And, Ethereum and XRP were in the mix there. And the only one that hasn't really moved a whole lot since it, did the backside of the wave was VeChain. That's only about 5 times what we originally got into that for. But again, people are spreading their bets, and I'm pretty excited about where things are going. It's moving in the right direction, I think. So back to the questions here. Petra says, hi, Sam. How do you feel about Tangent hardware wallet, and how high do you see Ondo going in the month of September? So Tangent is one that I like for myself. So that's how I feel about it. And for Ondo, I wouldn't say like for November, but by the end of the year, it should be, it's really had a hard time getting over $1. But with the market running, it would be one of the ones that would run in the 5 to 10 times range, just in this run. Like this run being, the run to the 8 trillion. Because there's some stuff that'll go like 3 times, like for example, Ethereum. Ethereum's extremely low risk though. So the chances of it running are, 3 times is almost like 100% in my view, from what I'm seeing. If there's any delays, it's never that long, right? Doge, for example, that should easily be like a 5 timeser. It may be more. It may be like a 10 or 15 timeser. Because like I said, $2 or $3, but if it went to $1 and then a little bit, and then next year, so it's hard to know exactly where it's going to land as far as timing goes. And that's why I make sure that I spread my bets. So yeah, Ondo, a 5 to 10 timeser for sure. Bradley J says, hello, Sam. Flare continues to develop with increasing legacy investors providing millions into the blockchain. I know you previously didn't get any information on Flare, but do you now? Will people be FOMOing into Flare during this run up to 8 trillion? Any price numbers? Thanks once again. Nope. Sorry, Bradley J. I don't have anything about Flare. Yeah, nada, zippo. That's why I didn't want to take a chance, because I could have gone for it as well with my XRP, but I was like, well, knowing what XRP is going to be worth, why would I take a chance, right? When this one could just end up being another crypto that just dies on the vine. There's so many to choose from, but if you're researching it and you see that investors are piling in, then. But the other thing too is that you can't really trust those people. That was the big problem I had with the people who were pushing Ripple and XRP, is that they would tell you stuff and they would get their followers all pumped up, and then it would be a big goose egg nothing, and it got to be annoying after a while. I felt like it was like abuse of their trust. Yeah, and that's on my top 5 of things that piss me off about influencers, is they abuse the trust of those who are trusting them, to be honest with them. And people don't mind if you make mistakes. I don't mind telling people, I remember somebody says, well, how come you didn't know? And I'm like, well, if I did, that would make me God, wouldn't it? If I knew everything, then I would be God. And we all know that isn't true. People are like, yeah, you're right. Sometimes people have an impression of people who can do what I can do. They think that you know everything all the time. And it's like, well, no, it's on a need to know basis. Jeremy says, hello, Samantha Jane. Second question, will will you blab more about World War III, specifically nuclear or non-nuclear biological weapon or chemical weapons used, and the trauma put on the common people in various countries? So I don't really see World War III. I know a lot of people like to talk about that, but I don't see that. I don't see World War III. I do see some stuff coming up. I do see that, people will continue to harass the Israelis, but that's going to be to their detriment because they will come and find you and they'll kill you and they'll make an example of you. And just look at what they did to the Houthis. Crypto Cato says, "Hi Sam, thanks for all you do. September is typically the most down month for crypto market with October to follow. Do you see us taking a dip this month as usual, or will this time be different and we will fly in September?" So I felt like this would be different. This is not a time to be cashing out, and you definitely want to make sure that your bets are in place. And I would make sure that that happens by the first week of September. Yeah, and then October will be even more up. Kevin says, "Sam, why don't God or the people on the other side make an exception and tell you clear dates of cryptocurrency rises so we can control more money and evil finally loses?" Well, I don't know about that, Kevin, because again, it's cryptocurrencies where they're not living souls, and I'll get a date on something and that'll be exact. Or I'll talk about, a crypto, oh, it's going to be the darling this week, and then it will be the darling. But it's more to keep everybody encouraged because they don't want people to become the group of people who are the ones who are the wealthiest and then nobody else does well. It's not the natural order of things. But one of the things that we want to do is we want to keep people from, losing faith in blockchain and cashing in and leaving, as a lot of people would do. But yeah, I mean, cryptos are very difficult, and it's not my place to be exact either. When it comes to, like, for example, the lottery numbers. I mean, if that were the case, why can't I just get the lottery numbers and then I can do all kinds of good with it? Because that's not how the world works. I'm not to go and get lottery numbers. That's not what the gift is or the abilities are for. But that's a great question, Kevin. Thanks for asking. I'm sure, I mean, it's crossed my mind a few times. I've had to think about it as well. I'm sure I'll get some really good hits though that are quite amazing, and people would be like, yeah, we kept the faith and we stayed and we learned from each other. And I believe that everybody will be where they're supposed to be, because I have learned that not everybody it's not good for everybody to have this outlandish amount of money. For some people, it's not good for them. Sometimes people just have to have what they need to achieve. And having like all kinds of money, it just ends up getting them killed by relatives who want them for the money they have, or they end up getting in jail because they get roped into by con artists, whereas normally you wouldn't have even got their attention. And that just takes me back to make sure that you don't tell people details about your cryptocurrencies in the same way that I operate on the down low, because, if I could give someone the exact numbers on stuff, like a gambler, for example, may show up at my house with a gun and try to force me to give him, who's going to win the horse races. And it doesn't work like that because it's just built in self-protection. So I draw my energy from the group here, and I find that we can give each other, that balance as I learn. Pascal says, "Hi Sam, between the graft, pole, and amp, who will do the best by the end of the year? Thanks." I think the graph will. GRT. That is my guess, Pascal, out of the three there. But I do believe that all three of them are going to be survivors, and that they'll have multiples that outdo one another at different times. Ani says, "Hi Sam, what is the dominance of Bitcoin, Solana, and Ethereum at the 8 trillion and 100 trillion? I'll just give you the Bitcoin. I think that Bitcoin at 8 trillion is like 43%. And at 100 trillion is like 32. Yes, that is my guess. All right. Maybe next week we'll try Ethereum and Solana. We'll see. Hold Gold says, hi, Sam. Aave has launched DeFi for financial institutions. It's using a permission version of Aave. It's a combo of decentralized and permission solutions using blockchain. It's a solution that is compatible with financial regulations. Is this something we'll see more of in the future? It's called Horizon. Yeah, I think the Horizon, yeah, that sounds good. I can see that. And, the financial institutions, they understand that kind of stuff, so they're more likely to support it as well. And as you know, support is the big thing, and they may not trust some new guy who's just using blockchain and showing people how to set up wallets, and doing some high risk trading versus the guy who's been their financial advisor for 20 or 30 years, who wants to get them involved in Horizon, and that would be an institutional move. So again, they're going to bring so many more people to the retail market. It's just going to be bananas. And Outcast says, hello, Sam. Do you see crypto taking a dip as it did 4 years ago after Labor Day weekend? No. No, I think probably there's going to be more interest in it than ever. And let's see. Hi, Sam. When exactly 5 and 8 trillion? Okay, well, let me give that a whirl. So the 5 trillion, we'll see that sometime in early October. So we'll start running for it in September. So like early October. And then by, I don't know if it's December or April, the 8 trillion. Let's just say April. Yes. I'm very hopeful with the timeline that I'm seeing, that it's like the end of the year by December 15th. But I'm like, oh, but that could be the spring too. Because I'm not close enough to the beach yet. But that's a great question. But yeah, 5 trillion, I can see us making hay with that sometime in September into early October. So passing the 4.1 trillion again, and then just heading up, and then by, I don't know, October 8th or 15th, being at the 5 trillion, and then continuing to go. But 8 trillion, I mean, that's a pretty big number. So yeah, April would make more sense of 2026, wouldn't it? But we're going to 100 trillion. That's even more exciting. But what's going to happen with Bitcoin, Ethereum, and the altcoins on a go forward is not like anything we've ever seen in history. It's not like anything that you can see repeating itself. And it's because it's an entire change in the industry, a wealth transfer like we've never seen before. Well, I don't really think that there's going to be too much of a dip. Maybe like just some sideways movement. Somebody told me that in the blab, when Campe Flagree blew, it was around 18 trillion and silver would be $150. So, that's the thing about trying to figure out the timelines, is that, it goes to the 8 trillion and then maybe it just takes a breather and then just starts to go again. But who knows? Maybe that breather is like 6 months or something. Maybe that's when the stock market corrects because of the cooking of the books. Collins and Barrow Chartered Accountants, or PricewaterhouseCoopers, or one of the many. I think that it's endemic in the entire industry. This is not a crazy thing. Just like you hear all the time about bookkeepers and business managers, for example, stealing from their business. You hear about that kind of stuff, like you read about it in the paper. So this is not a crazy thing to see happen. Yeah, that would come out, and then it affects the stock market. And of course, a lot of people who have cryptos, they have stocks as well. And in order to make their bet on whatever their stock is that they're going long on, but the bank is looking for more money, they have to sell off cryptos. And it ends up being a bad situation for everybody. I am Richie said, Sam, is there a trigger or a date for September when we see the rise to the market cap 5 trillion? No, I don't think that there's any particular trigger about it. I am Richie, other than, people are back to work. They're back in school. They're off vacation now. After Labor Day, people are getting down and they're getting serious and they're doing research. And so, sorry, even if, for example, somebody was to inherit or have money, a large sum of money gifted to them by their parents in the summertime, I mean, they just usually park it. They're like, oh, well, I'm going out to the cottage with my friends, and me and my husband, oh, we got a trip planned here to Disney with the kids, and then we're going to see Nana, and they don't have time. They're like, okay, well, we're just going to park it in a T-bill because we just don't have time to figure out where we should be putting that money. But in September, the kids are back in school. There's no trips planned. Like there's an economic reason, and it also has to do with time. The time that people have to make these investments. Gosh, I would say out of the flyers, my meme coins, like if I took all of the flyers, like the 15 to 25% of the portfolio, the memes would only, and I don't count Doge as the meme because Doge moved into a Q lab a little while ago. When it went from like a quarter of a penny to single pennies. Yeah, I would say like the memes might be like 10%. So if I had, let's say, $100,000 in the flyers and the longer shots, the Star Atlases of the world and the reefs and I can go down the whole list of all the longer shot ones. That would include AMP as well, Zeus Network, Electronium. That was from an original ICO back in, I think, 2018. It was before I met you guys that I went in on that. Maybe it was 2017. Yeah, I think it was 2017. They had the ICO for Electronium. But yeah, so out of 100,000, it would only be like, 10,000. It would not be much at all. Also Helium Network. And I can just go on and on about the number of different coins and tokens that you have sort of as your longer short. You just place your bets and you just hold it. You're just like, well, these do in between 5 and 10 times each. And then you have a few fall off that don't work out at all. You're still doing great. And Diana says, how high do you see Bonk going by October? I think that Bonk will be easily a 5-timeser just because, it is one of those tried and true meme coins that when it takes its turn, it's going to do quite nicely. So make sure you take advantage of that if you do hold some Bonk. Take some profits. So Crypto Maggie wants to know if the 4-year cycle is still intact. And I don't think so. I think that they're going to throw the book on the 4-year cycle. But yeah, I'm going to have on Wednesday, I've got Ask the Medium. Thursday, I've got What's Trending. And then Saturday, I've got the crypto review. And then the premium members, we're going to be hanging out. And then next week on Monday, I've got, not this week coming, but as in tomorrow. I'm like, oh, I'm going to take tomorrow off. And I don't usually do anything on Tuesday. So I had booked some business things for then. All right, guys. Anyways, I'll see you in the Discord. I did manage to stay on top of that, thankfully. Bye for now.